Hi, everybody. This is Max Farrell from DexFXMarkets.com, and we are in a very special video today. I won't really call it a testimonial. I guess it could be a testimonial. We're on with a founder and friend and trader. His name is Victor, and Victor has been trading on the dailies for some time. I'll let him tell you most of the story, but as we started to talk, it's always good to see people that sort of start with no understanding of what trading is or to a certain level, about the dailies and the intradays and all the signals that we have from DexFX Markets and DexTrader and Dex Signals, and show what it looks like from their perspective. And so on the phone right now, we have Victor. Thank you very much for taking time out of your day today, Victor.
Oh, it's my pleasure, and you are correct. It's one of those things back in November, October, I started looking at what do I want to do. Mm-hmm. And I have basically behind ears green ears because I really know nothing about trading online.
Right.
And I started looking at other companies, and I found companies like you said they were cheapskates or stealing, and the other people were good.
Right.
And actually, I started off on 1 minute trades with some foreign companies in Europe, and I checked out. I started reputable companies, and I found some good people. The problem was 1 minute was actually taking me a much longer time to actually do 1 minute than I thought I was going to be investing in time. You still have to put in the time.
Right.
And then basically I went to the 5 minute, and then I discovered, Nadex, and a lot of people was against Nadex because in the beginning Nadex was really hard to work with.
Oh yeah.
And then so come October, November, I signed up, for DexTrader back then. And then I got the mail about that. I said, I want to invest in this. And here's my whole process. Well, what I started looking at, I started off with the 5 minute trades because I said, well, this seems simple enough to learn. Mm-hmm. Then I says, well, this is taking a lot of time. And then you put up your training videos, and you put up your charts, I started playing around with the dailies. And I says, well, wow, the daily is a lot less stress because I've got some time to make some decisions, mm-hmm. time to learn the data and the training. And then you start talking about this step bot, okay?
Right.
And the step bot says you have this process that you go through yes and no's, and this does this. Mm-hmm. And I says, well, could I create a step bot? And why did I say that? Because actually I run my own company, mm-hmm. have been since I was 17. I'm 65 right now. Wow. And also I'm also in school working on a master's. And I says, mm-hmm. when do I have time to do this?
Right.
And then I says, well, how do I do this? Well, first of all, I don't have the background, as I was watching a webinar today with you guys. You guys are well beyond my understanding.
Okay.
But I says, you have your CV equals G. And I says, well, consistency, okay?
Right.
Okay, how do I do that? And the other thing I learned growing up playing golf is the fact, let the club do the work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the bottom line is the fact, I began to realize working on the demo is that I should let DexFX Markets do the work. Mm-hmm. And the 20%, the mental energy, is what I got to do. And so what I started working with is how do I take what you do? And I said, well, let's look at this. In an average week, I started doing analysis like you've done already. Mm-hmm. You've got 29 opportunities to trade during the week, okay?
Right.
From Sunday night to Friday. Out of that 29, you've got about another, oh my goodness, you've got 9 times per hour. You got basically 3 hours to be trading. So you got like almost 300 opportunities to trade. Okay?
Yeah.
With new information. Then I says, well, let's see what this actually means. And then because of the data you have with the ATM out there, the OTM markets, and then the full daily chart, I just realized that in an average week, you have the potential of 200 opportunities to place an order. 200 opportunities.
Right.
Well, I says, well, then I don't need to do it all at once.
No, you don't.
And so that means that gives me some flexibility. So if I do this part-time because I'm at work, it means I don't have to do it every day at the same time. Mm-hmm. Number two, I says, well, what does that mean? Then I found out, well, that doesn't help me out if they don't win. Then I found out of that 200, only 40 actually go on to become a position.
Right.
Well, that's still a lot, okay?
Yeah.
40 positions throughout the week. Then I start looking at your data because this is where you've done the 80% of the work, okay?
Right.
Because you've set the parameters, the bottom and the top of the limits of where you should be placing your stock placement orders. Mm-hmm. I found that in an average week, out of that 40. Only 6 to 8 actually fail.
Right.
I says, well, wait a minute. You're talking to me that, so out of 40 they get through on an average week going to last since November, you're only losing about, losing the trade about 6 to 8 times. I says, well, that's about 17% loss rate.
Yeah.
Then I says, So So my question here is that why can, and then your bigger thing says, well, you can, the win was like 96% of the time. Well, basically that's everything, whether they get through to the place, whatever.
Yeah.
And then on those who get through it, the win's about 83%. I says, well, okay, what can I do? Then I've been watching your webinars, and I says, well, everybody that's on the webinars and yourself, and I listen to you quite frequently, you're always concerned about only the wins, those that succeed. And I'm thinking, well, no, the important thing is, what is my loss that I can accept?
Yeah.
That's passable and still show a profit. I says, well, it comes out to about 90% win factor or success factor. That means I don't have to worry about winning everything. I just got to be sure it gets down to something that I return a profit.
Mm-hmm.
And after doing that, I says, well, all I have to do is, in fact, how do I go from 6 to 8 losses down to about 3 or 4 losses a week on the max out of the 40? And I figured out a way, in fact, I eliminate all the risk.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I went through all the times, like usually the 11 o'clock period is usually the high risk part of the day.
Yes.
And so what I did is I started in January, marking out every Sunday night. I went through, marked out the whole calendar when there was any sense of risk from the news.
Right.
And I permanently said I'm not going to do those days. Number 2, I went through my list and my demos and says, okay, what pairs do I have problems with? Number 3, and so basically I went through my market. I found out what days do I have to eliminate, or what periods that time. And so I came up with this process is that I can do this part-time
Mm-hmm.
if I can eliminate my risk, and I found out I could cut my risk factor down in half to instead of 6 to 8 per week to maybe 3 or 4 losses per week out of 40. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
And that's when I started. Now it says, how do you do this? Because, well, first of all, most of the time I'm never home. So how do I do this? And still do it part-time. Basically, I have on my cell phone, I have Nadex on my cell phone screen, and I have DexFX Market on my cell phone screen.
Right.
So basically, I can be anywhere, and I can pick up my cell phone. I can go to the DexFX Markets web screen, and I can see what you said. These are these are the ones that are your limits. This is the ones you should go with, and Nadex at the same time. So basically, I don't have to be at home. I can be on the beach. I can be drinking coffee, and I can go through the whole process.
Right.
And the other thing that most people don't understand is that just because the bell rings, the fact, okay, you have a new a pair to consider.
Mm-hmm.
It may take, if you say it's at 8 o'clock and the thing is at 11, it may take 10 o'clock before you see any movement.
Yeah.
So you don't have to go out and right away rush and place an order because you've got time if you're busy.
Right.
So what I found out is that I can do this on a part-time basis while I'm going to school and work, taking care of my clients and everything like that, that I can get myself at times. You can look at my sheet. I don't do it every day.
Yeah.
And some days I miss because of the fact there's nothing in that day that I find doesn't contain risk.
Right.
That's how I do it. And so the bottom line is that I basically have got to a point now, what I found doing this process, that where everybody's looking for that one win a day, there are some days that I win 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
Because it's a low risk day. Because basically the other thing is that if you learn to take out the risk and you know what pairs you are strong with, then you can basically go ahead and say at 8 o'clock for 11 o'clock, said, these are the ones I'm going to pick. Go and look at their charts and saying, I can place those 4 and then walk away.
Right.
And that's how I do it.
That's amazing, because I let you just go there and you have surmised exactly what my brain goes through every single day when I talk to every single person. Like that's the information I want to give every person. If I could take what you just, which we're going to do, we just recorded this, but what you have just stated is the golden plan that you're able to see from your side.
Correct.
And why I didn't interject at all into that plan is because that's your plan, right? I teach karate, and in karate, I tell students on the mat, I said, look to the person left or right. That person is going through their karate experience completely different than yours. And that's what you're doing. You're going through the daily experience completely different. But I just want to touch on a few things that you stated that I want to make sure that everybody knows is that, one, you do have to create the plan, right?
Correct.
Your plan, Victor, is that, one, you look at the news to surmise, and you do so. When do you do this? Do you do it every single
Sunday.
day, or you just do it Sunday, right?
Well, no, you got to understand, you got to check periodically every day because they do change.
Yeah, they do add stuff in, and it's usually talks or sometimes they'll add in an event that's about to happen.
Correct.
So,
And
yes.
Yep. And so what I do is I go through the whole calendar and eliminate those times that I know there's going to be risk. And if you look at the losses that people have are typically during those times.
Yeah. And when those news happen, like if you're going to be trading between the 8 o'clock or the 11 o'clock expiries, you know you have to be there about 8:15 for
the first one.
Yeah, right. So if you know that there's 8:30 news and 10:30 news, avoid this day.
Correct.
Right? So that's first and foremost, is that you don't go into the high risk modes, right? So if you can only trade, let's say Monday there's no news, so that's a check. Tuesday there's news, so that's a no. Wednesday there's news, so that's a no. Thursday there's yes, and maybe Friday morning you might trade this. I sometimes lose. I just stay away from Friday altogether. But if you trade on Friday, then great, right? You create this plan, because now when you go to those times, and this may not be at the same time every day. You may not trade the 11 o'clock. You may say on Tuesday, the 11 o'clock's a no, but the 7 o'clock's a yes, right?
And that's true. And the other thing is, the fact is, because you don't have to check an 8:50. If you got an appointment at 8 o'clock,
right,
you don't get off the phone at 9, you can go back and see what started at 8.
Yes.
And if it hasn't already triggered, you can go back and place that order because it still hasn't moved. So you're not losing. So to me I've learned what pairs I have to eliminate by day and time.
Yeah.
So basically I can do volume because I've eliminated my losses, because I know when not to place orders, and also what pairs don't work on that day for me. So bottom line is, I'm literally saying, I don't want to be stupid here, but in fact, I can almost go blind. I know which pairs I can do every day and I'll never lose on them, or at least once every 10.
Yeah.
But people don't understand that you do that. DexFX Markets tells you what to do. They give it to you. Do 80% of the work for me. I don't have to do that.
Right. And this is the beauty part about it, is that there's on the Daily Signals page, there is so much information. There is the the actual sheet itself is comprised of data, just tons and tons of data. Now, I don't give you 20 years worth of data or 5 years worth of data. It goes back 100 trades per each one. So there's only about 300 or 400 information on this, because we keep a snapshot of the market of this expanse time that happens on the systems.
But you can go every week, you can save these images.
Yeah.
And basically and what I can do, because you allow us to do this, I can go see what pairs I'm always losing on.
Yes.
And
that's where your journal comes in.
Yes.
Right? So,
yes.
And this is where your part of the data starts to get on board. If you save, like right now, you have a good one, but I would like to get it cleaned up a little bit, get it onto an actual, you might have it cleaned up. You made a PDF for me, and that's.
I can actually give you the spreadsheet if you want it.
Yeah, there's a way we could do it through Google and all that stuff, and we'll talk about that off this one. But again, it'll be more training. But the concept is that the data is there for you, and I teach you how to keep this journal. If you didn't have this journal, you could have an understanding. All right, I won $879, but you wouldn't know consistency rate. You could go down and isolate each one of these wins and know how many Euro USDs you won, how many USD CHFs you won.
Yes.
And know that, okay, I averagely lose more on an Audi USD than any other pair. So when that time comes, you're like, Audi USD and USD are the only ones you've lost on so far. Well, there's a USD JPY. But but one loss doesn't make a pattern, neither is one or two, right? So we talked about consistency in the very beginning. How do you find consistencies that you have to go in and do? Right. And that's what you've done.
That's what I've done through doing the demos, because when I'm doing the demos, I'm saving my logs like you said you need to do. Yeah. So at the end of the week, I can actually say, okay, here's what the world won and lost. Yeah. Here's what people don't understand. The ATMs is your godsend, because let's say you don't know what's going on. You can walk up anytime and find out what's actually having some success, a potential place. Or if you can't do all 10, because you got a short period of time, go to the ATM, and one of those hit. Those are the ones you got to take a look at very quickly. Yeah. To see if you want to play. Like today, the CHF lost. Okay. Yeah. But listen, I knew from the record of fact that I wasn't going to do that one, because I knew from my charting that CHF does not typically work for what I was seeing on my screen. And so I walked right away. I walked right away from it. Well, here's the other reason why you wouldn't have traded the USD CHF, because at 10:30. 8:35 or 8:30, there was some news, not a lot, but at 10:30, 10 o'clock, all the way down to 10:30, it was huge news. So you wouldn't even have touched that. So this is why, if you look at sorry, go ahead. Well, I also know from past history, because I saved those data. I know the CHF, if it was only one triple and nothing else, I still would have gone for that CHF, but because there were multiple ones and multiple news, I said, I can't go there. Yeah. And see, that's smart analysis. And that's what your part of this system is, that I can only give you the data that I collect automated, right?
I can give you my opinion what you should do with that trade. Like I wouldn't have gotten into this day at all or any of these trades because of that news inflection at 10:30, 10 to 10:30. I don't touch it because I know that if you get a little push in the beginning and a bigger push comes in the same direction, it could push the signals out.
Right.
Did too many dailies lose? No, only one loss from that time period out of the 10 that fired, right? But
Yes.
how many ATMs fired? So which means that it gets down to 10 pips before it fires, and none of them are. So the OTM fired because it went out of the money, right?
Yes.
And that's the other thing is that you look back on the 26th, there was a big, huge double news day. All these trades nobody got into.
And I did.
Yeah, nobody did. I didn't either. I didn't even lose either. But look at all these OTMs that did win with no news inflection.
Well, that's what you got to look at. Here's the other thing is that what it's very important is because I have shortness of time, I know from my history which pairs I need to look at because some pairs never hit at a certain time or a certain day of the week.
Yeah.
So I can say, well, okay, I've got 10. And nope, these 3 are the only ones that typically work for me on Wednesday or this time period. Right. So I can shorten amount of what I have to look at before I make a decision. So I can do that on my cell phone. At drinking coffee or at a work break or pull off the side of the road at a rest stop and look at my charts never while I'm driving. And I can actually do this. I'm doing this in my cell phone, everything.
Yeah. And see, you're pretty technically savvy. A lot of people, and at first I would trade if you have the capability to trade at home, trade at home. But if you,
you got it. No, I agree with you. I always do it at home. What I'm saying is because of my nature of my work,
yeah,
I'm usually on the road.
But I tell people, don't try to make it easy before you make it, right? So if you study and you focus and you learn the system and learn how to trade it, and then you want to make it easy, but then you got to curtail it to your situation. Like you do the analysis, you do the process past what we've already done. Like you said, we do 80%, you do 20%. That's huge, and I'm so glad to have a chance to be able to talk to you about this because the epitome of those people is that. If you were to hear somebody go, oh, yeah, the dailies don't work for me because by the time I get there, they're already losing. And I don't want to even look at it. They're not looking at the numbers properly. They're not seeing the actual expanse of the market and what it is. There's so much information here. If they don't scroll down and look at this particular screen.
Well, these are very important to me because when I'm making a decision, I go down to these lower charts here.
Yeah.
Now, what's been successful for the month, the week, or the day, that gives me some decision-making processes. For example, let me tell you how important this is to me. What I try to do is every day I go to look at your step bots, okay? What I've done is the fact is I can tell which step bots are going to lose when I go to your Facebook page before I even go there because I know from looking at the data, what I'm doing, when I'm seeing in these charts, I can say where the step bot's going to be going down or up. I can do that in advance because the data speaks for itself. And you said the step bot's based on the daily anyways.
Yeah, it is. And that's the funny part is that the algorithm is based off of my flux capacitor moment of CVG, but it's a time-based immersion process where over a small period of time we look at the market high or low. Yes. And that's what it all is. I learned a long time ago that to take something complicated and make it simple is a sign of genius, but what it really is just a sign of what I call stupid structure. I don't want to add too many moving parts to a complicated program. I start with a basis of simplicity because there's a success rate, and we call this trading with the clock on the wall, right? Go to the computer at 3 o'clock and buy an Audi JPY at 3 o'clock every day. Exactly, not 301, not 302, 3 o'clock, and you do a buy, and that's it. You will have a success rate because there's only so many moving parts in that theory. Now, at the end of the month, if it's a win, you got money above, you have your consistency, add volume, go to 3 o'clock.
But I think what the people have to look at with DexFX markets is this. The fact that I know every week there are going to at least be 40 orders to get through that are going to be, and only 7 of them are going to lose. That means you've got majority of 83 to 85% of them are going to be successful. There is no system out there that I'm aware of the fact that I know 85 out of 100 times, I almost know that I'm going to have a success. Right.
And if you're wondering, if you're watching this and you're wondering, is it something that's real? Victor is, you could probably already tell, very passionate about it, but also very analytical about it. And this is something that he has to fit into a very busy lifestyle. He's a professional. I won't tell you exactly what he does, but like you said, he has clients. He goes to school. He's going to get his master's. You know what time it takes to get your master's?
Yeah. It's almost as long as we go to work every day.
Yeah, exactly. And then if you have any other job after to do that, or if you have a family or anything else, it's almost damn near impossible. So on the part-time, did you find your consistency?
Yes.
Yeah. So now he's only traded one contract per each one. And as far as the advice, Victor is the epitome of a perfect client here because he's followed the consistency value and the portfolio to a T. And that was to find how it fits for him, utilize it, pick his Einstein windows. And sometimes they may be at 6 o'clock at night. Sometimes they may be at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, or it's in this case, 2 o'clock in the morning, Mr. Night Owl here.
But well, you gotta remember, I forgot to turn off my phone and it started buzzing me that there was a trade coming up. I woke up and did that. But the point being is, I can do this for myself. And the key thing here is that I'm following the suggestion. You said, before you go live, do 100 of these, okay?
Yeah, yeah.
And so to me, when I was looking at how can I do this part-time, it'll take me 2 years to get to 100. I said, I couldn't do it. That's why I started developing my system to fit. I don't want to go 2 years to get to 100 trades. I want to do it much quicker.
Yeah, and that's, when I teach people how to trade, I tell them to try to find something in the market value, like in 5-minute trades to trade, just to get a feeling of trading. But in demo, if you trade your first month, that'll give you your first consistency value. If you trade your second month, that'll give you another realm in there. If you're positive in both months, you have a strong consistency rate to go live. Most people can't withstand that, though, Victor. Most people are like, oh, I need to make money tomorrow because they're trying to make bread in their jar.
Well, I want to tell you one thing that I did do.
Yeah.
My first month, and this was before I started the January, I tried to lose. I tried to figure out every weird thought about how do you do trading and all the kind of stuff to figure out really, basically to prove to myself what you're telling me is actually true.
Yeah.
I just, well, Max is great. No, I tried to fail. I said, well, let me do this. Let me take the risk here. So bottom line, I finally got it on my system. No, I don't have to go there because Max said it. Not only I proved it to myself, with the demo, you can actually do that.
Yeah. Yeah, you can go in and make mistakes. Like my demo account has like 18,000, start with 25. And people sort of give me rib for that. They're like, well, if you're such a great trader, why doesn't it have like $1 million in it? Well, because I test all the things out there that you don't need to test. I test all the superstructures, all the stupid stuff that's out there, all the little, like the clock on the wall theories, right? I had one person come in and tell me, well, when this hits $97, click it and buy it and see what happens and put 12 contracts on. I try it all. But
the important thing, I think, why I did some of that trading, for example, when you're doing the OTMs, it's very easy to do an OTM on a buy. It's very hard to figure out the OTMs on a sell.
Yeah.
Because they tend to work against you. So there are ways. So I found it's very hard to do OTMs on the sell because the trading broker doesn't really like you to do that.
No.
And so there are a few that I've been able to do that. Now today, the CHF, if the broker had allowed you, if they had won, I would have won $94.
Yeah.
Because I didn't place it, but I followed the fact is that the brokerage firm Nadex actually kept the $94 there and never moved the buy. And I said, well, hell, someone actually, if they had won, you would have won $94.
Yeah, and see that's if I was a gambling man with that scenario, right? USD or like the USD CHF had a very high rate of success at the time, even sitting at 98%. If it went OTM and if there wasn't news available, and I decided that, hey, you know what, I'm going to take that availability with that. How much money would I have lost?
About $6.
Yeah, I'd take that all day long. $6 to make 94.
Now remember this. What's so funny, in fact, is I came in late to check it out.
Yeah.
It was nearly 10 minutes, and they still left it at $94.
Yeah.
Okay, and I says, wow. And the buy was like $1, and I says, well, I just played it, on paper because I wasn't going to do it. And I says, wow. And they left it there. And I says, well, if it wasn't for the news, I would have made $94. And what if I did that by 10? I would have made $900.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Now the good news is that there is in the ATMs down to the 10 wire. If you every single one of these signals, now I don't call them trades, they're signals, but every single one of these signals would have triggered a trade in the system at ATM.
What I've needed to share one thing with the listeners is this, that sometimes an ATM will be successful for you, but if you come in at $25 a trade, you may never ever get down to what ATM is.
Yeah.
Because I found sometimes, well, how come I didn't win on this? Because I didn't hit. Because your success is without any given amount of money. So if you try to win $25, the ATM may not trigger for you, so you may not win that particular trade. I just want to share that because a lot of times, why didn't I win on that when I had to pick? No, because I set mine at 25, not at 0.
Yeah, yeah. If you set your market price on Nadex for an unobtainable number, like I want to do $40, it may never trigger. But if you set it between 20, 25, 20, $23, $25. for the most part, it should trigger. If it hits down to 10, it should trigger right around that area. But again, on some of these obscure pairs like the Euro Great Britain Pound or something else, you may not trigger on some of them. But
Correct.
for the most part, I'd say about 80 to 90% of these will trigger on that solution. If you trade between $22, $23, $24 right in that area.
Well, if you follow the rules with what you set up and you take away the risk that you know exists out there, the news,
Yeah.
you should be able to have success rate about 8. I'm just saying from my personal experience, the first 2 months, I've been averaging about 89% success per week.
Yeah. And that'll give you, if you're trading 25, 30 bucks a trade, if you get a couple OTMs, your job is to hunt out good ATMs, great OTMs, and moderately successful daily signals that'll fill. Between the 3 portfolios, you have low risk, medium risk, and high risk.
Yep.
But with each number prevails, right? So like the daily signals, you're putting it between 25 and 30. If it hits, it has a 90-something% success rate. If you OTM, you're doing between $25 and $30, right in that area, and you have a potential of saying about 60% of them to fill, but you have a pretty high success rate. These are pretty good high success rates. If you look at the Great Britain Pound, JP or USD, you may not want to trade that one, right? Because it doesn't have a great success rate. But if you go to OTMs, you hit one. If you hit 1 or 2 a week with OTMs, maybe 1 or 3 to 4 a week on ATMs, and maybe 1 or 2 a week on dailies, you'd have a great portfolio. And by your look, you seem to have a pretty damn good looking portfolio. What I would ask if you could do,
I'll ship you the spreadsheet and you can play with it.
So there's that, and then maybe make another column that if you took an ATM, an OTM, or just a standard daily working order.
No, I wouldn't. I haven't stored that. I apologize. I'll continue to do that. I want to share something for you too.
Sure.
Just because you did a standard hit, your system is set up with Nadex that automatically may give you the ATM and OTM price without even knowing. If you look at some of my trades, I didn't. I put down 25, but it actually gave me a 50 hit. So sometimes it happens without you even knowing. Sometimes just went here at 43.25, the minus 43 is because it actually gave me the OTM without even looking for it. It just happens as a trigger at the time. So sometimes it happens without surprise.
Yeah, they do. It's a lag fill. So what happens is that you put down 25, but it fills at 43.
Yes.
And so because this is a buy, you only risk 43 bucks.
Yep.
And you made 54 on the same kind of mentality you did. So this is an ATM trade.
Yes.
Okay, so
I didn't start off with an ATM trade. I just played as a standard 25, but it came in as because when I placed the order, it hit that little loop right there when I caught it.
Yeah. So there's an ATM. This would be considered an ATM.
Yep.
This was a regular. There's another ATM.
Yep.
You see, so this is an OTM. This is an OTM loss, but you only lost 14 bucks.
That's correct.
All right. So this is a good 1-to-6 ratio on risk to reward. Here's another ATM. So you are like the epitome. I love this information you have for me. Thank you so much.
I'll go back and I'll get you the spreadsheet and you can play with it. I'll continue going on updating it more for you. But the bottom line is you showed me the very first time. The other thing people have to know the fact is for 2 years now, I've sought out firms all over the world to find something that I could do part-time or something that I could learn from. And there are a lot of good trainers out there, but you're the first one that has the complete set of data and analysis.
Thank you.
I've run into a lot of guys who teach you, do one like you. I've run into some guys who now live in Portugal. I ran into him, and he continues to do this full time. He actually made like $3 million doing this. Yeah. But he basically says, let me walk with you. He went every 2 hours every morning. He spent time with me personally, one-on-one. Okay. Yeah. He says, I'm not a joke here. Okay.
Right.
And I paid good money for that. That's how I learned this, that you can do that. You can do this. But he says, no, can't give you the data. So when I found you, and that's when I decided, okay, I do want to become a founder because even though I don't know you personally, when I started seeing what you presented, I spent a couple months looking over the system. I discovered the dailies because first I didn't want to do the dailies. I says, well, that's 4X. That takes a lot of time. Then I started playing with it. Oh, this is a lot easier than the 5 minutes. Believe it or not, dailies much easier than the 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah. The 5 minutes have a lot more stress value and a lot more movement. And plus, with 5-minute trades, you don't get much of a margin in between stuff, so you don't get a lot of movement. You get like a 30-second window that you got to really create the analysis here. And that sometimes by that time, it's already gone.
Try doing the 1-minute trades.
Hey, listen, when I first started doing binaries, what we got ripped off on $115,000 for it was that I built a bot that traded the 1-minute binaries.
Well, I've done the 1 minute. You got to pay attention every second. And I'll tell you, it's doable. Don't get me wrong, but It is a lot of stress.
Well, Victor, I really do appreciate your time. As far as everybody's watching, 2 months in demo, Victor, we're going to have a consult here in a little while to go to live. These numbers will still emulate. They'll still work really hard, especially on the dailies. With 5 minutes, sometimes hard when you go live because the market prices aren't available like they are in demo. But on the dailies, they are, because I've been in these numbers before. I've worked these numbers. Now, one thing we got to talk about before we end is, how does he make more money from this? Some of you may be looking at $879 for 2 months, about 400 something bucks a month, and go, that's not enough money for me to live. Well, he's trading at one contract per time. Okay, so for about every $700 to $800 that you have in for a balance, you could trade a contract safely. Okay, keeping a 10% margin in that process. If you increase that risk, you could probably trade two per, $1,000 to every $1,000. But if you get a couple $1,000 in there, trading 2 or 3 contracts at a time, but keep it on an incremental crawl, which means start off with 1, make $1,000, then go to 2, make $1,000, then go to 3, make $1,000, and so
Well,
on.
that's my plan. That's my plan. By the end of the year, I plan to be up to minimally 10 contracts per play. But I'm doing it. I'm proving to myself that I'm eliminating the stress by proving to myself that I can do it.
Right. The confidence is another C that's involved, that you have to have the confidence to be able to make the decisions without hesitation.
And those who ever gambled, and I'm professional gambling, not just joke gambling, you've got to learn to control your emotions. Okay. Yes. If you've got a plan, you got to work it. I do not vary my plan. If I say I don't place orders on these time periods, I don't place orders.
Yeah.
I do not. And remember this, for every time you lose an order, you have to win 3 times, okay, to make up for that one. So the bottom line is you're motivated not to break your plan, because I've gone from potentially 17% loss factor down to only 9% because I stick to the plan.
Right. Because the plan will have modifiers in it. The plan is to follow the structure here. If you see, like, there's 4 or 5 trades that happen at the regular plan, and then the modifier is every once in a while it hits an ATM. So if you do lose a big boy, this is 2 trades in a row. So this is like the equivalency of 2 trades. So these 2 trades cover this loss. Easy. Piece of cake, and then some. It just has just above, right? Yep. $81 to 76. So he's $5 in profit. So, and then it goes back into the module again and starts to win. Now he's 31. There's another one. So then when he does lose, and he loses from an OTM here, it's only $14. Again, the very first ATM back out, boom, $58 win. That's huge, by the way. That's borderline OTM. That is, in fact, that is OTM. That's an OTM trade.
My bottom line is, because I consistently look at my plan, I work at it, and because of the timing, because I'm consistent when I place my orders, it happens naturally sometimes.
Yeah. So this happens naturally with the ATM OTM process. But if you look, that's the system. And if he were to follow any other program here, he would probably be in there losing it, because unless you work the plan like Victor says, there's only so much that your mentality can handle. So you have to rely on a very clear flow and stay with that flow.
And just remember, if you're doing dailies, you have the potential of 30 to 35 successes every week.
Man,
every week. And I've looked at the numbers, okay?
Yeah.
And it's there, okay? And you got to be patient. The other thing, in fact, is because you think there are potential 2 orders you can place, but only 40 are going to hit. So you got to understand it's not going to be like every one you're going to hit on. For example, like if you look at that 11 o'clock today, all 10 pairs were up, and only 1 broke the level to make it to the position. Right. Okay, so sometimes you go a whole 2 periods and you had, none of these hit. That's the patient comes in. Yeah. Be patient. On the days when I think it's going to be a 3rd, no, then I end up winning 3 or 4 orders in a row. That makes up for the days that I didn't have any order to get through.
Yeah, absolutely. Victor, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure.
Stick with me for a second. We'll talk off recording. Everybody else, and again, Victor's not a paid actor. I guess he's paying himself because he's doing well with the system, and I can't thank you enough for being here today.
My pleasure.
There is a lot of work to do. And next in the screen, there'll probably be a little discount code for you guys that are on the dailies. If you're looking for dailies, looking for help, consults, just like we're doing right now. Just what we're doing with Victor right now, I do for consults for everybody that comes on board. So if you need help figuring stuff out, get into that flow, just get here. That's all you have to do. Just show up and be a part and be acceptable to what you have to do. It's hard work, it's discipline, but it can be done. Victor does it. I do it. Many others do it. But in this series, we wanted to show somebody who really got it, and Victor did. And thank you very much again, Victor, for being here today.
My pleasure.
All right. Take care, everybody. I'm Max Farrow. This is DexFXMarkets.com. See you next time. And as always, trade well.